Hi there, I'm going to talk to you about maximisation, and to do so I'm going to talk to you about partying and partying hard. Now, one of the great joys of being a parent is taking your child to a children's birthday party, one of their friends' birthday parties, and seeing there the food that you hadn't had since you were a child yourself. And my favourite thing, party rings. Absolutely love party rings. I remember taking my daughter to a party recently, and sort of dropping her off. She did her activities, went there to pick her up, and there was all the food laid out there, sort of like buffet style. And adults were allowed to, help themselves as well, and it was absolutely great. And they had a huge plate of party rings, so I had a party ring for the first time in ages. And so I was chomping away on it, and I was thinking to myself, as a sad economist does, what's the most I'd pay for a party ring now? And I thought about it for a while, and I thought, yeah, I think 23p actually is probably the most I'd pay for this party ring. That's what I think it's worth to me. So that must have been the happiness I was getting from that party ring, which is fantastic. And of course, the plate of party rings was still there. So I thought, well, I'll have another one then. So I had a second party ring, and that was fantastic. So a second party ring probably added 22p. So you can see, graphed here on the screen. 23p was my total happiness after one party ring, but now I had another 22 pence of happiness to add on to it. So that was a total happiness of 45p, which was fantastic. And the plate of party rings was still there. So I had another one, and that added some more happiness to me, some more utility. And I may have had another one, and then possibly another one after that. I may have had a few party rings. It's certainly true. And how long did I keep on going for? I don't know. It could have been, I don't know, as many as maybe 24, something like that. 24 party rings, I think. And at this point, I mean, that is quite a lot of party rings. Quite a lot, I have to say. And I mean, that 24th party ring, could have taken it or left it. I took it, I ate it, and I realised I was at my limit. I mean, I like party rings as much as the next guy, but when the next guy's throwing up all over the bouncy castle, you think, yeah, probably should stop. And so my total happiness at that point was probably as high as it could possibly have been. Had I had another one, well, I think I would have probably paid not to have had another one. And so that would have given me negative happiness or negative utility. And so my total happiness, had I had a 25th party ring, would probably have been less than if I stopped at 24. And if I'd had a 26th, I mean, it would have begun to get quite messy quite quickly. Anyway, though, I was quite happy. I'd had lots of party rings. That would probably hold me for a while. So, for a while, next week, what happened? Another birthday party. So I'm thinking, it's been a while since I've had some party rings. So I go along, prepared to enjoy the food again, picking my daughter up after this party. And they've done the unthinkable. They've given each individual child their own plate full of food. There was no buffet. That's just what they got. And there was no other food for the adults. So I arrived, and, you can only imagine the disappointment on my face. And it must have been apparent to everybody, because my daughter looked up at me and she saw how sad I was looking, and she went, "Don't worry, Daddy, you can have one of my party rings." I was thinking, she's so kind. She said, "For a penny." So, for a penny? Fortunately, she had change for a £20 note, so that was fine. So, but, I was willing to pay the penny, because after all, the first party ring I know on a Saturday gives me 23 pence worth of happiness. So I was paying her a penny, that's fine. So take that off. So overall, I was 22p better off from having this party ring. And you can see that on the first graph. There's from that consumption, there's that net 22p. You can see it on the second graph, because when I consume that first party ring, it's the difference between the top of the green bar and the top of the red bar is my total happiness. And then let's just move that over onto a third diagram, so you can see my total happiness when I consume the first one. So that was fine. 23p happiness, paid out a penny, 22p up in terms of happiness. So I look around, I think, okay, will anybody else sell me a party ring for a penny? No, not at all. And then the little boy sat next to my daughter goes, "Well, I'll sell you one for 2p. I could see where this was going. Okay, though, it's still worth it. 22 pence worth of happiness from having this party ring, paying out 2p. I prefer it to be free, but it's still worth me doing it. That gives me net happiness of 20p. So again, we can see that on the first graph. We can see it on the second graph as now total utility from the two. In fact, it's easier if we look at the third graph. First of all, the difference between the top of the green bar and the top of the red bar on the second graph is my total happiness. So that should be 22p from the first party ring plus 20p from the second party ring. So that's 42p. It's my total happiness so far. And this carried on. So then the little girl sat next to the little boy said, I'll sell you one for 3p. And it just carried on, but it was worth doing. Next one, I'll sell you one for 4p. My total happiness from each party ring was going down, but it was still above the amount they were asking me to pay. So it was worth carrying on. You can see on the third graph that my total utility is still going up. The difference between the top of the green bar and the top of the red bar on the second graph is still growing up until I think it must have been about the 11th party ring that I ate. And at this point, I knew that if I had another party ring, well, it would probably cost me about 12p, and the happiness I get will probably be about 11p, knowing how things were going. And you can see that on the graph. So there's the happiness, first of all, 11p, and then there's the cost of 12p. So in fact, had I had that 12th party ring, there'd have been a net cost to me of a penny. And what that would mean is that the costs were growing now faster than the benefits were, because the benefits were only adding 11 and the costs were adding 12. So what that means is that the difference between the top of the green bar and the top of the red bar had actually shrunk. And so my total happiness at this point was now starting to fall. This was at the stage we were in last time when they were free, when actually I'd have paid not to have eaten a party ring. Now, while I'd still pay to eat a party ring, I wouldn't pay as much as being charged by these rip-off kids. So that's what happened if I had the 12th. It would have been worse if I'd had a 13th, because they've been asking for even more and I'd have been enjoying it even less, and so on. So we can see that, in fact, you can see it accelerate down the graph, but actually my utility was maximized where the marginal cost was equal to the marginal benefit, the marginal happiness that I was getting. Beyond that, the extra cost is greater than the extra benefit, and so it's not worth consuming those rings, but it certainly is worth eating all the ones up to that point where the marginal cost is equal to the marginal benefit, because they added a net benefit to my total happiness. And just to follow off on the graphs, you can see there what's happening to my total benefit as I go beyond where marginal cost equals marginal benefit. And it's certainly possible, if I have enough, that actually yet again I end up with negative net utility. So what is the moral of the story? The moral of the story: to maximize, you should consume where your marginal cost is equal to your marginal benefit. In the first instance, my marginal cost was 0, so I kept on eating until my marginal benefit fell down to be 0 as well, and that maximized for me. In the second instance, I consumed where the marginal cost is equal to the marginal benefit. The marginal cost was increasing now, but that same point, that where the one equals the other, that's where I maximized. The other big takeaway is that you can buy these things like for 80p, packets of 20. So I don't know what I was doing. And my daughter can get herself to the parties on her own, I think, next time, or maybe my wife can take it. So there we go. Thanks very much.